Right now, Donald Trump, in this moment, he'll win 35 states because that's where it's headed. It's going to be an Obama-level landslide is what he's going to have. And frankly, it's almost going to be the complete reverse of 20. Trump was easily going to win re-election until COVID happened. And now it's as if he's the one in the basement and he's just going to sit back and allow Biden to throw this thing right into the ocean. And that's what's happening. And watching the people who are saying, that's not such a bad deal, but it's so predictable. The people that I guess like 10 or so Democrats, with one exception, I think being Jerry Nadler, the Democrats that have come out and said that Joe should step away are all in swing districts. The ones that are saying, eat your vitamins, those are the ones that are in safe districts. That is why we have to do this. I know you're going to suffer through it, as I will, but we'll do it anyway. So CNN decided that they had to bring on a Democratic Party spokesperson for Joe Biden today. And who do you think they decided was the right person to bring on to talk about why supporting Joe Biden is so important? I'll let you take a guess. Here we go.
When I hear you talking about Donald Trump and trying to put the focus back on him, he's been very quiet over the last several days and has just.
Keep in mind, she's wearing that wonderful pin right over her right breast. Debbie always knows where the cameras are at all times, baby.
Donald Trump and has just let this play out amongst the Democratic Party. I hear you focusing on the accomplishments you want to highlight from this president, and yet that's not the story that's out there right now. So are you frustrated? How damaging do you think this is, particularly as we get closer to November?
I'm frustrated that the media is literally dissecting every word that comes out of Joe Biden's mouth and is ignoring the fact that the Republicans are about to nominate, again, a convicted felon who's an adjudicated rapist.
Okay, so a few things here. Adjudicated rapist. This is a woman who has been caught doing insider trading several times and has never been prosecuted for it. She has broken the law by violating the Stock Act, which is, for all intents and purposes, doing insider trading. And do you know that one of the things that she was doing insider trading on was war profiteering for the war in Ukraine? That is provable fact. She was involved in an energy company that was about to get a huge contract 3 weeks prior to the war in Ukraine starting. And yet somehow the genius thought was, let's bring her on television because she's the right person to say that somebody's a convicted felon. I'm telling you, my friend, I listen to somebody like her and I think Donald Trump thanks you for your service. That's what I think. Your thoughts?
I think it's theater. I think it's 100% theater. I think that the host is full of theater. I mean, the lady that, one of the ladies that did the Joe Biden interview came out and ended up leaving the station because she was fed selected questions she was allowed to ask Biden that he had prepared for.
That's even more incredible. That is so incredible that you brought that up. The fact that they couldn't even wait. The fact that she was like, yeah, they fed me the questions. Yeah, you're out. It's like, oh my God, you're proving her point.
It's just, after a little while, like, I don't find this entertaining at all. I find it offensive that they think I'm stupid enough to listen to them, right? And I find it offensive enough that they think that the American people are dumb enough. And unfortunately, maybe they're right, though. Unfortunately, maybe they're right, because you see it everywhere where people are taking their arguments very seriously, very seriously. And they talk amongst each other and, oh my God, did you hear? Oh my God. And they get all fapped around the collar and you're like, well, what exactly is it you're fighting for? I mean, I want you to think about something. She's talking about dissecting what Joe Biden said. Think about this for a minute. When Joe Biden came in, we had already lived through Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Okay. We had already lived through the Ruth Bader Ginsburg ego moment that let the Supreme Court slip away, blah, blah, blah. But if anybody's done any legal work at all, and Jen's a lawyer, right? I've got friends that are legal scholars, and Joe Biden could have stacked the court. He could have added many justices. He could have reformed the court. He could have done anything, right? He could have codified Roe v. Wade when they had a supermajority into law. He could have done but he didn't. Didn't do any of those things. But we got to save women's autonomy because Joe Biden / whatever, because, oh my God, Project 2025. And so you see how people take this shit really seriously.
Oh yeah.
And it's an unfortunate thing because every step along the way, Joe Biden could have done. Joe Biden could have literally gotten rid of all the student debt, regardless of what the Supreme Court had said, had he used the executive order that the debt collective had written up for him. It had been already run through the entire legal, gamut. So they knew it would hold water. They had it all ready for him. He was like, nah, I'm going to nickel and dime it and just give a few people things because they want you in debt. The debt is good for the capitalists because then they can hold you in whatever they want you.
Oh yeah. Right over your
So
head.
the more precarity we're in, the more power they have over us because we'll do whatever the hell they say.
This is part of the reason why when people say you got to do this, you got to do that, it's the same thing with Roe. It's the same thing with the environment. They do this because the Democratic Party is corporate owned, just like the GOP. That's the reason.
So think about this, right? I want everything that we want to happen. You want ranked choice voting. You want third parties to get 10%, 5%, whatever, get their matching funds. You want all these things. You want them on. The problem is, and I think that we've forgotten this, the League of Women Voters has been out of this for a long time. All this stuff is controlled by the two parties. Everything. And so you're asking the people within the two parties to literally voluntarily vote away their power. If you believe in this stuff, right? You're asking to have these legislative victories for parties not yet in the game or anything else. You've got to realize how absolutely absurd that is on its face. What's the thing? Power concedes nothing without a demand. And demands mean nothing unless there's a credible threat that goes with it. And think about the people that said, we're going to vote not committed. Like somehow or another, that's a real threat, right? The real threat you saw on the campuses, the real threat you saw on every campus across America, literally standing up against genocide. And what did they do? They brought out the jackbooted thug police, the dogs, everything to beat down those protests. And really, at the end of the day, we're afraid of what it's going to take to make things better, because what it's going to take is a lot more of that and a lot less selfies with the I voted sticker on our forehead.
Oh yeah.
The idea that we're going to vote our way out of this is so obscenely absurd. And I'm talking with very good friends in the union movement. And, I've got people that question me constantly about this. It's very irritating because our union work is very, very widespread. I've been covering union work, a lot of stuff with the Vermont AFL-CIO, who is a absolutely wonderful, class struggle union shop, fighting against a national AFL-CIO that is not class. It's a business union, standard corporate union. Everywhere you go, unfortunately, people don't want to do the work. They want to be able to just cast their vote and hope for the best and move on, and then bitch on social media that, oh, woe is me, they're going to take away my rights to body autonomy. Let me go ahead and vote for the guy who's, never really stood up for Roe. You look through history at Biden's support for these things. It's pathetic. But he's never, ever tried to pretend to be a lefty. He has always been Ronald Reagan's counterpoint. He's always been a Reagan Democrat. Always. I mean, he's given impassioned speeches for years about austerity measures. And I'll cut this spending and I'll cut that spending. And I don't mean a little, but I mean the whole damn thing. And he has always been that guy. And yet they trot him out and they say, save our democracy. Vote for right-wing Ronald Reagan. Vote for right-wing Ronald Reagan to protect us from even more right-wing Ronald Reagan, because after all, we've got a democracy to save.
And that is especially why this lady, who is particularly loathsome, is out there cheerleading him. Let's finish the clip.
Still denies that he lost the 2020 election, who is committing to upend every single accomplishment that Joe Biden has helped make sure we can recover after COVID.
What accomplishments, lady?
MBNA.
And the 15 million jobs that were created. Yeah,
You know how many of those jobs are a result of people just getting back to work because of the pandemic? I'm just saying.
I am pushing to make sure that we can focus on what the danger lurking down the road is that if we don't make sure that we rally and focus on Donald Trump and the extremist good versus evil existential threat that he represents to our democracy, then we're going to end up back there again. And that's the nightmare scenario my constituents want to avoid.
Your constituents? You don't know who your constituents are. You just pay people off to get them to vote for you, and you rule with fear and threats. You are the lousiest federal House representative in this nation, and there is a lot of competition for that stature, but you're right there. You have caused the housing crisis of epic proportions in this district. You have taken this election cycle alone over $100,000 in campaign. You're a House member. In one election cycle, you have taken $100,000 in campaign money from the real estate developer industry. People cannot afford rent. They are never going to be able to afford to buy a home. Their insurance is out of control. Inflation is out of control, and overdevelopment is out of control. Gentrification is out of control. Who in the fuck are you to go on TV and offer any advice about anything? You are dog shit, and I don't care who in this district hears it or has something to say to me when they hear it. We don't need this anymore. We don't need people like this representing us. She is the modicum of what is considered moral justice in society compared to Donald Trump. This is who should be on CNN.